Alright guys, so we are back. Take a quick look here. Sorry for the other part of the stream there. For some reason it cut out. Let's see here, let's refresh. And we're going to go ahead now and move on to LatinVFR's Santa Ana, which is right in my neck of the woods actually. Just, I think... Let's see, Santa Ana Airport from where I live is about 30-minute drive southeast of where I live in California. And let me try to see if I can pull out the configuration tool here. Actually, I think I have a picture of it. I took a picture of the configuration tool because I expected the flight simulator would be running at that particular time. So what I did was I just took a quick snapshot just in case it didn't load up. So that's what the configuration tool looks like. So that's it there, and also congratulations to LatinVFR. LatinVFR actually took advantage of the new scenery options configuration tool provided by 29 Palms. So this configuration tool, which is just a picture of it, I should actually go ahead and find the actual thing here. Let's see, let's go back in here and pull up the actual configuration tool before we start. I think that goes under Sim Market, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, actually it's not in here. Oh, you know what? That's right. He didn't send me to this from Sim Market. Where is the configuration tool? I wonder if it'd be under LatinVFR. San Diego. No, where is the configurator? That's a good question. Let's try... Let's try the add-on scenery folder here. LatinVFR, Orange County. There we go. Okay, here's the configuration tool here. Run that as administrator. Alright, there we go. So now we have the actual configuration tool available. And you'll see here that there are a few scenery elements you can either add or delete depending on your setup. You have the 3D grass, static aircraft, land class, and photo scenery, skyscrapers, buildings, and excludes. So if you don't want to have any buildings there at all and exclude the default buildings that Flight Simulator probably adds in that area, and you prefer to have that, then I think it'll remove the exclusion files and you can have the default buildings. But trust me when I tell you, you definitely do not want that. You want to have the those buildings present there. And you do have an option to have animated or static jetways, and also very, very good kudos to LatinVFR for adding animated control Juliet jetways. In fact, if we click on that or hover above it, you can see choose this option if you wish to have the jetways animated using Control plus Juliet or default static. So we're going to use the animated jetways and actually test them out with the Aerosoft Airbus as well. So, and if we take a look at the About section here, you'll see here that it's licensed for LatinVFR. Customizable Scenery Configuration Pro by 29 Palms Scenery Design. So if you listen to that broadcast between Lars Pickenberg and I, this is one of the new items that 29 Palms, oops, what am I doing here? This is one of the new items that 29 Palms is selling via their new web shop. For those developers who do not have that coding ability and want to be able to have users add and remove objects to their own liking, but you don't have the ability or the time to go in and create these control panels and code all that stuff, you can actually just buy this directly from 29 Palms. And you can actually buy a license, and it's actually a really, really great resource for a lot of developers, especially some of the smaller, more independent developers that are not able to do this sort of thing on their own. So kudos to 29 Palms for offering this product to the community, and kudos to LatinVFR for being, it looks like, the first to take advantage of it. So this is the new the new control panel here, and these are the option settings. And so now we're going to go ahead and head back into the flight simulator and take a look in real time. Make sure that's still running. Hopefully you guys can hear me. And we've got prepared, firing up now. Someone's asking me, do I play League of Legends? I'm assuming that's a video game. No, I don't. Any particular reason why, you ask? Valley Deer. Once again, folks, if you're just joining us now live, we are in the process of firing up Prepared to clear the memory for LatinVFR's John Wayne or Santa Ana Airport. And I apologize for the abrupt ending of the other stream, taking a look at Oslo. For some reason, OBS just cut out. I don't know exactly what happened there. It just shut down. We were in the process of taking a look at Joachim's, some of his production video work, which actually looked very, very professional, by the way. So I was hoping to play that as part of the stream of Torp, just so viewers can get an idea of what they're looking at and get to know a little bit more about the developer and what he's about. But unfortunately, OBS, as reliable as OBS is, it cut out. And of course, I'm being very sarcastic, because OBS, I mean, don't get me wrong, OBS is an open source program, and so anyone can add anything to it to make it better, and I definitely appreciate it, especially given the fact that it's free. But nevertheless, it's basically a permanent beta product. So no matter what you do, it's always going to be in beta, and that's just the nature of the beast. So nevertheless, there's always bugs in there, and for some reason it just cut right out and terminated that part of the broadcast a little bit prematurely. But nevertheless, now that it's done, we are now moving on with John Wayne. Alright, just going to look for my trusty Eurocopter here to fly around the scenery with. Give me just a moment while I breeze through here and try to find it. Where are you? It's in here somewhere. Actually, I think it's under E. E comes after D, EC 135. No, it's not the 135 I'm looking for. You know what, let's do it this way. Let's go under Publisher and go back up to E. So I had actually hoped to showcase the Milviz MD530 today. In fact, I think it's in here somewhere. But unfortunately, I need another release candidate. The one that I had here, for some reason, doesn't want to recognize Prepared. I don't know why. But I keep saying this one's not meant for Prepared, even though it's the Prepared installer. Let me see, Milviz. It would be nice to fly that one around. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, Publisher. Let's go back under Milviz. Let me see if I can find that one. I don't think it's going to work, though. Let me see. Junkers. Stuka. Where is it? Maybe I removed it. I'm not seeing it here. F4E. I don't see it. Oh, I probably removed it. Alright, no worries. Let's go back and find the Nimith. Oh, wait. N comes after M, dummy. Here we go. EC130. Here we go. Where's my Bumblebee? No, that's fine. We'll just go with... I need the one without the crew, though. Let's try this one. That'll work. Alright. Okay, iCal code is KSNA for Santa Ana. Oops, I didn't put the S in there. And there we go, John Wayne, Orange County. Guess we'll start off on the active runway. Maybe there's a helipad in here somewhere. I know that there's helipads in John Wayne, but I don't know if they were added in the file. It doesn't look like it. That's okay. KSNA. And let's just try summer. It's California, so it's pretty much summer all year round. In California, we have two seasons. We have summer, and then we have not summer. And currently, we're in the not summer part of summer. So don't expect any seasonal variations. That's just the nature of California. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Say goodbye to the bear and take a quick look and see if there's any comments. And Slayer's asking, do I have the Milvis 407 for Prepared V2? I have the version that I used in Prepared V1, and I think I featured that in a few of my previous written reviews, but I have not actually tried it in Prepared V2. I know that Milvis has some restrictions in using certain aircraft in Prepared V2, and they prefer you have that particular version, so I actually haven't tried it, so I really don't know. I don't know. That's a very good question. I'd have to ask the developers about that. I know that the Milvis the King Air 350i works in V2, and I actually got permission to stream that one in V2, but because there's no instruction manual for it yet, it's taken me a while to kind of just try to learn all of the different parts of it. It's actually quite a complex aircraft, that 350i, so it is certainly no Coronado, that much I can guarantee. Let's see here. Looks like my special effects are low. Let's see, what are we working with here? Yep, okay, we're down to 2048. Scenery. No, the special effects is fine. Alright, I guess this gives you a quick idea, too, of in terms of what I'm working with in terms of the settings that I fly with. Of course, all of this is available at AirDailyX.net. Yeah, I think that's fine. We can cancel that. Whenever I see these lines streaking towards the sky, this is the simulator quickly getting the aircraft off the ground and into the air. So you can see where the contrails go straight up, and now they're going off in their respective directions. So that's very funny. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get started here. Yes, Prepared V2. And let's turn off the ATC there. I hate when ATC just loads itself up by default. I don't want to hear your voice giving AI planes their instructions. Alright, let's see here. Tune ground. No, that's not going to help either. Now I'm just going to hear planes wanting a taxi. Alright, well, hopefully that's not going to be. If it's too much of an issue, I can actually just turn the volume down here on the broadcast software. Alright, so let's get ready, and actually, you know what, let's change these weather settings. These weather settings look a little bit boring. I think we use the same settings for Torp, so I'm going to switch to something else. Let's try to maybe do something a little bit more custom. Let's see here. Weather, user defined, let's see. Let's go to overcast. Visibility 10 miles. Let's try to, I'm going to try to create some California weather here for you. Let's pull up cirrus clouds. Let's try 10,000 to 30,000. I think that should do it. That should look interesting. Yeah, that's more California weather right there. There you go. Alright. Although today it's very clear. And not much smog. You can't really see the smog today, which is interesting. You can't really see the smog today. Alright, take a quick look at any last comments before we start. And Slayer is actually saying there is a fix for those contrails, so that's very good to know. Slayer, if I can just ask you, because it's been a while since I've been over on the P3D forums, do you know if they fixed the issue with those clouds? I get these like really random two-dimensional clouds, and it's really, really annoying. I don't know if they've actually found a fix for that yet. That's a very good question. Oh, got off to a very quick start there. Sorry about that. Alright, here's one of the things I think I want to point out early on with the scenery that I really appreciated. Actually, you know what? I might... Okay. And that was the coverage area. And I think I'm actually going to start with the coverage area before I get down on the ground and start looking at the airport proper. And the interesting thing about the coverage area is, number one, LatinVFR actually purchased a very large coverage area with a very high resolution photoreal terrain, which was very nice. I definitely appreciated that. And it covers pretty much the approach on both ends. However, yes, there is a however. Actually, you can't even see the mountains in the background, huh? I should bring the visibility up a little bit more so you can see those mountains. Give me 1 second here. Screen's going to go blank for 1 second. Just going to increase the distance and visibility. Let's increase that to, let me see, where's weather? I'm going to increase that. That's down to 10 miles. Let's increase it to 20 miles. The mountain's about 20 miles off. So you can see the mountains a little bit. Yeah, there we go. You can see a little bit of those mountains. On the other side of those mountains there is Corona, California. And Irvine off to the east. Further south, rather. And so now we're kind of moving on the border between FTX Global and the coverage area. So this gives you an idea. And in this part of Orange County, there's actually a lot of... It's mostly a... on this particular area, it's mostly... what's the word I'm looking for? It's mostly commercial. So you have a lot of commercial buildings, shipping companies, technology companies, so on and so forth. Industrial, that's the word I'm looking for. This area is mostly industrial. So as you can see here, there's a lot of industrial complexes. Not all of the buildings that are on the photo terrain have been added. So you can see there are some buildings that are added, and you can see that there are some where the buildings weren't added, and you just see sort of the roofs of certain buildings. I can hear that. I can hear that. If that ATC girl gets annoying, let me know, and I'll just turn off your volume there. So one thing that you will notice, though, is that the area from the scenery coverage area and where it meets FTX Global is rather abrupt. So there's not really much of a smooth transition, and I'm actually more curious to see how this is going to work with FTX Southern California, which hopefully will be released next year too. My fingers really crossed for that. That's going to be awesome. So you can just kind of get an idea of the edge of the coverage area and where it meets FTX Global. And then we're going to make our way further west once we start to hit Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, out to the west there, and there's the ocean. And now you can get a little bit more of an idea of the coverage area. So I did go through and take a look earlier on last night of the scenery. And one of the things I can say about it is I happen to know this area very well, extremely well in fact. There is a lagoon that we're approaching further up in the scenery, and this is actually one of the areas where we go to celebrate 4th of July. They have a very fantastic 4th of July program out there, which is very interesting because it's fairly close to the airport, but it doesn't. The fireworks are not underneath the approach path. So if you're departing out of Santa Ana on 4th of July, you should have a very interesting view. If you happen to be sitting on the left side of the aircraft, you can see fireworks as you depart over them and head out over the ocean. The traffic arrives in from the east and departs out from the west. Unless the wind changes, for example, when it's raining, then they will tend to reverse the traffic. Very similar to what they do here at LAX. So I see there's a request to check out the 405 freeway. I promise we will check out every aspect of the scenery, and I will also need to remember to turn on ground traffic as well. There's a lot of good detail down there. But the reason why I wanted to make my way out this way first is just to give you an idea of the overall coverage area that was included. So you can see here that you get a very good look of the approach area. if you do decide to approach in over the water. But this also happens to be an area that I was actually rather disappointed with, and here's why. Number one, I actually did not expect that LatinVFR would have increased the coverage area out to the ocean. So I'm glad that they did, but because they did, this creates something of a problem. And the problem it creates is, and I'm hoping that FTX Southern California corrects this. Hint, hint, Misha, since you're listening. But I'm certainly hoping that FTX Southern California corrects this. Because when I, for example, when I go back and look at the Puerto Rican scenery that LatinVFR did recently, and I actually wrote a pretty extensive review on that. That was a very, very large coverage area. And the unfortunate thing here is it's a good thing that he extended the coverage area out this far, but the downside of that is that there were some very, very important things here that were left out. And I'm going to go over that in a moment because I'm going to pull up Google Earth so that way you get an idea of exactly what I'm talking about. And if you see this little beach here straight ahead, which is where my mouse cursor is, this is actually where we go. We sit out here along this beach here, and they fire off the fireworks right here on this side of the beach. And as a matter of fact, if you look at this bridge going across here, that's actually Pacific Coast Highway going across there as Pacific Coast Highway continues to work its way along. And it's one of the areas, along with the bike club that I ride with, the cycling club. This is one of the bridges that we cross as we work our way down to Laguna Beach from Long Beach. It's about 55 miles in total round trip. Very, very typical way to spend Saturdays here in Southern California. Okay, so now I'm going to talk a little bit really quickly about why the coverage area just didn't cover enough. Now you might notice if you look down at the water, you'll see some interesting lines there in the water. And those lines that you're seeing there are very important. And I'm going to try to pan our helicopter here over to the left, and you'll see there's some more lines in the water. Those lines that you're looking at are not docks, are not meant for boat docks. Those lines there are very, very important. They serve another purpose. I'm going to continue to rotate around here. And straight ahead is another area that I wish would have been added as well. This area straight ahead is called Fashion Island, which is it's more of an affluent shopping area. This whole area is actually, to be honest, has some of the most expensive real estate values, not only in Southern California, but actually in the entire country. This area here called Newport Coast, there in the background where you see those hills. And the buildings that you see here, there's a number of default office buildings, and right in the middle you would actually see Fashion Island, which is sort of Orange County's version of Rodeo Drive, where more of the wealthy go to spend money. So I'm just going to slew for you really quickly. We're going to go to a high elevation here just so you can take a quick look at the coverage area. And there's the airport there on the right side of the screen, and the ocean coming into view on the left side of your screen. And I'm just going to hit that pause button here. I'm going to take a quick minute and pull up Google Earth. Give me just 1 second. There are some very fundamental differences here that I want to point out. And while I wait for that, I'm going to grab a quick glass of water, so just bear with me for one short moment. We'll be back right after these messages. Oh, I needed that. My throat was like dying. Okay. All right, so we're going to take a quick look, and this is why this is important, because, again, one of the issues or rather, one of the surprises that I was able to note was the fact that LatinVFR did extend that area, but unfortunately, the downside is what was not covered in that extension. So this is what we're going to cover really quickly. Laguna Beach, Laguna Niguel, Costa Mesa, and where's our airport here? Airport should be coming into view. Okay, here's our airport here. So you can get an idea of here in Google Earth. As I mentioned before, it's a very industrial area surrounding the actual airport itself. And once you get west of the airport, you wind up getting into these really, really highly affluent neighborhoods, areas surrounding golf courses. In fact, you'll find some mansions and really, really high-end real estate. Here where this Newport Center is, this is Fashion Island that I just told you about, and this is a very affluent shopping mall, shopping area here. Click on some of these pictures here. This is sort of the, more or less, the Rodeo Drive of Orange County, if you will. I've actually visited here a couple of times. So, I mean, it's got this usual malls, just like most shopping malls do, but the interesting thing about Fashion Island is you'd never know it was here unless you knew it was here, because it's situated high above this hill, above these golf courses with these high-end homes here, and above these areas. So it's kind of hidden in here, and you from below the hill you see that there's buildings, but you never know that there's a shopping center up here unless you just knew it was there. So and that was designed that way on purpose. They wanted to keep certain kinds of people out of there, if you know what I mean. So that's the interesting thing about Fashion Island. But anyway, going in and taking a look at this lagoon here, you can see where some of this was added as part of the, where's our simulator here? You can see where some of that was added in the simulator. But as we get out here over the bay here, over this marina area, you can see where what should have been added. So I'm going to work our way out here. And those lines that you saw are actually islands, and there are homes on this island. You have Balboa Island, which is not accessible. It's accessible by a private bridge. And this community of Balboa Island is actually a very, very affluent community. They park their own boats right up to their houses here in many cases. They have their own private beaches. And there's actually a couple of islands out here that you can see here. And so these homes, they have their own. It actually it's very similar to that of Miami, except for the fact that there's just no skyscrapers. But that's what this area looks like. So when it comes to approaching over the ocean, this is a very, very important area when you approach the runway. Let's see, where's our runway? Our runway is here. So that puts our approach right about here. So it gives you an idea of what should have been added in terms of that photoreal coverage area. You have all these islands here with these nice homes. You've got a couple of taller condominium areas here. But those lines that you just see in Flight Simulator that are just represented as lines, now you get an idea of what the area actually looks like. So unfortunately, that all wasn't included as part of the scenery. I'm not really sure why, because like I said, when you go back and look at what they did with, what was it, San Jose? Or San Juan? They actually covered a huge, huge part of the scenery. But unfortunately, when it comes to the Orange County area, that actually wasn't covered. And that, to me, for this approach, this, I would say, is compulsory. You've got piers out here. And like I said, you have Fashion Island, which you would notice right off to immediate right on that approach. This is the beach that I was talking about earlier, where we tend to celebrate 4th of July, the Newport Dunes here. And we hang out on the beach and they fire off the skyscrapers. This is actually looking toward Fashion Island here, where these buildings are here, up above that hill. So this is where we tend to spend 4th of July, and so very nice fireworks area there right on those dunes. And so you can see that it was included. Well, actually, that's included by default, because you can see right around in this area here is where the scenery area tends to stop. So it stops right before you get to those Newport Dunes there. But if you happen to live in Southern California, I definitely recommend you try that area for the next 4th of July. So anyway, just getting back to my point, there are a lot of golf courses here, obviously. So there's a lot that could have been added to this area. So it is now my hope that this will be properly covered with FTX Southern California. I know that FTX has a tendency to add photoreal areas to certain parts. For example, for Italy, Mount Vesuvius was added, and of course they're currently working on Nice and Marseille, or not Marseille, but Nice and Côte d'Azur for this new part of OpenLC that Orbix is working on. So maybe perhaps this area would be included as part of a photoreal added area, because it's a very important part of Southern California, and this of course is Newport Beach, which is sort of the more fascinating beaches in Southern California. So you have lots of nice houses along the beach there, and so on and so forth. So the beaches here are really, really spectacular. So hopefully that's something that'll be covered. But if anything, when it comes to just doing the approach, even the departure, you know, this is what you should be seeing. It's a very, very affluent area, nice houses, you have your islands there, and so it's something that's a lot of fun. In fact, for Christmas, every Christmas, all the boat owners decorate their boats, and then they ride their boats along the areas here. They all line up, and you get to see their decorations and stuff on their boats. So that's a very cool thing to see during the Christmas holiday. So I just wanted to show you the actual differences in terms of what you have in the simulator and what actually exists in these areas. So I definitely I definitely appreciate the extension of this lagoon, but unfortunately there was just so much that was not added that it would have really just made a world of difference for the scenery. So that's the only reason why I wanted to go through and show you that, because the second I saw that he had a large coverage area, the first thing I wanted to look at, oh, did they do Balboa Island and most of Newport and Balboa Beach? So unfortunately, that was not added, but nevertheless, hopefully that will be covered in Southern California from Orbix. We'll see. Over here is Corona del Mar. Corona del Mar is a very super rich area. At any given day, you'll go down the street here in Corona del Mar, and we ride our bikes through here, and on any given day, it's all Lamborghinis, Ferraris, you know, you name it. They're all lined up along this street here, where all these little cafes and things are along Corona del Mar. It's also a dangerous area for cycling, because this is where a lot of our guys tend to get hit coming down Pacific Coast Highway here through Corona del Mar. But this is all the super rich area here, and there's Newport Coast. When we climb our hills, this is where we go. So anyway, that's enough of that. I'm going to head back over into the flight simulator now, and I just wanted to just give you just some comparison here in terms of what actually exists, and a little bit about real life. And because this is my part of the world, it actually gives me something a little bit more to talk about as well. Yeah, okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to slew back down here, and we're going to head back towards the airport and start covering the airport area. Let's see here. I need to slew down. There we go. So again, hopefully that gives you an idea in terms of what is actually missing. Now, FTX Global does a very good job in terms of you know, giving you a fairly accurate representation in terms of you know, the coastlines and how it, you know, gives you a good idea of how it should look. But hopefully FTX Southern California will go in and actually do it more justice. But nevertheless, under the approach, I do appreciate the lagoon and the fact that quite a bit was still added here. So as you get closer to the runway threshold, you get something of an idea in terms of how the area looks. And it looks nice. If only he had just extended it all the way out to the ocean and covered those islands, that would have been, I think that would have been the cherry on the cake, if you will. So we're just making our way back towards the airport and back towards the industrial area. And there's a lot of office buildings near the airport. And as someone mentioned as well, they wanted to see the 405 freeway. And I know exactly why he asked that, because when you're traveling down the 405, you get a very good view of aircraft flying over on the final approach. And of course, there's a lot of these buildings that surround the freeway on both sides. So now we're going to take a look at some of the custom buildings that were added. And this was compulsory, by the way. You can't do Santa Ana and not do the surrounding buildings. John Wayne would be disappointed. I can see John Wayne saying it now. I'm not going to buy a version of Santa Ana unless those buildings are added. All right, so here we go. Now we're just kind of flying through here. There's lots of corporate office buildings here. These are mostly technology companies. And there are a number of hotels here in the area as well, obviously because of the nearby airport. There's the Hilton. I think we passed the, was it the Marriott? I'm trying to remember what the other hotel is back there. And you can see that there's some cars placed out in these lots out here on the photoreal terrain. In fact, give me 1 second while I go in and add some car traffic here. That was what I forgot to do. Give me 1 second. Your screen's probably going to go blank for just a quick second while I add in some vehicle traffic. Hopefully that's not going to take too much of a chunk out of my performance here. I always find that road traffic is a pain in the butt. So let's see here. Frames are in the late 20s, and I did notice the sizable drop now that I've added that traffic. This is some typical Southern California weather here. And someone asked if we could take a look at the 405. This is the 405 that we're actually hovering over now. So we can try to get a little bit close to the 405 freeway itself and try to give you an idea of what it's like going down the 405 near the airport. Of course, this is unrealistic. There's only a few cars here, and the 405 is a very busy freeway. So you can see there's some vehicles there on the photo terrain. I only raised mine up to 20, I think 20%. There's a Crown Plaza. And I have to say, these office buildings were done very well. So I definitely tip off my hat to LatinVFR for going in and doing these buildings. You can see there's some environmental reflections there. And another thing about the environmental reflections with this particular product is they actually went through and added in all custom reflection imagery. So that was also very nicely done, very well done. So by request, we're just making our way down the 405 here, and you can also, if you notice, the bridges were added in as well. Again, a very nice touch. And if I can just get someone to confirm that the stream is not having any buffering issues, the sound is okay. And in fact that I'm still streaming. I know that OBS cut off at the end of the last part of the stream. Just want to make sure I am not talking to myself. As opposed to just kind of stopping the stream here and taking a look. And there's the airport off to our left. And you'll also notice here there are also freeway bridges here. And there's a plane flying over on the final there. 405 North. This is on the way to my house. 405 North. I actually live right off the 405. The 405 freeway is about a couple quarters of a mile from my house. The always busy 405 freeway. And there are some signs there along the side of the freeway. Very nice to see that added. And there's some of the airport long-term parking here. The 405 itself could have been a little bit more detailed instead of just sort of white washed look, low resolution imagery. I think back to that road that 29 Palms made at the 29 Palms Airport, and that would have been a nice touch to kind of make that a little bit more higher resolution. And if you don't live in the area, and if you like to fly into LAX a lot in the flight simulator, FSDT's LAX, this is also the airport that runs right along LAX. I'm sorry, the freeway. This is the same exact freeway that you fly over when approaching LAX. So there is the 405 freeway. And just kind of coming out here on these further away from the airport here, you can see there's more custom buildings that were added as well. More of these corporate office buildings. And at this point, we're actually pretty much toward the edge of the coverage area. Taking a look at FTX Global. And a few more corporate buildings over here as well. So I'm going to go back and turn off that car traffic in a moment, because it is giving me some pretty bad stutters here. That's sort of the downside of turning on those cars. And I never fly with them. I don't use them at all. They just don't add enough immersion for me to keep it on and sacrifice the performance. So a few more custom office buildings here on this side of the airport. But for those of you who do like having the vehicle traffic activated, there's one more negative thing to point out in regards to that. One of the things you'll notice is the cars are only animated directly underneath the approach, so you don't get cars this far out, which I guess is fine, because you don't want to run into too many issues with cars coming in from too far away. But I do appreciate the fact that it was added on top of the photo imagery, so that was very nice. But there's one particular area where cars were not added, and I'm just going to make my way over to that area right now. And that's the area that runs right, the road that runs right along the front of the airport. Let's see here. I'm just going to try to lower the helicopter here just a little bit. And this particular area was an area that, in my opinion, should have also had the vehicular traffic. Vehicular. Anyway, but here it's all void of the cars. So again, I'm one of those people where I don't really use the car traffic, but if you're gonna have it, this is one area that I think it should have been included. I mean, you see here all the work went into adding these palm trees. I mean, this is California in a nutshell. This was all captured perfectly by LatinVFR. This is very, very Orange County. There's El Torito. Oh, I love El Torito. California Mexican food. Oh my God, I love that place. There's an IHOP. Oh my God, I love IHOP. As a matter of fact, I have a friend named Jason. He lives in Melbourne, but originally he's from Tasmania. He's from Launceston, and he lived here in Southern California for a couple of years. And I took him to IHOP once. He has a very, very thick Tasmanian accent. And I remember taking him to IHOP once, and he just couldn't believe all the food you could get for $10. And he's like, DeAndre, we've got a guy to IHOPs. And he always calls it IHOPs. He goes, IHOPs. And I'm like, you mean IHOP? Yeah, we've got a guy to IHOPs. So he just freaking loved IHOP. So every other weekend we're going to IHOP, and he's just ordering like these huge ass omelet meals, and just can't believe how cheap it is to get so much food, because I guess in Australia, eating out is a luxury. So, but I also told him that's why a lot of us in America are so fat or overweight, because you can get this huge meal for $10, and it's like you're full after the 5th bite, but you've still got this huge trough of food to finish. But nevertheless, nice to see that IHOP added there in the scenery. And for the record, I freaking love IHOP. Oh my God, I love IHOP. That's just one of the things I look forward to. Every now and then we'll go out and have an IHOP breakfast, or we'll go to Denny's. Denny's has that moons over my hammy meal. Oh, I freaking love that. IHOP, I think my favorite meal at IHOP is the country omelet. Oh, my mouth is watering. I actually haven't had breakfast yet today, so looks like an IHOP trip might be in order when my wife gets off from work. Looks like another restaurant here, but I can't make out what that is. Anyway, right now we're just taking a look at some of the buildings here, and just giving you an idea of just how well these buildings were added. You can see here the building logos are all thrown in there, and this was just so perfectly done. Very well done. So I definitely tip my hat off to LatinVFR. In fact, I want to just try to turn the eye point here just a little bit, if I can. and focus down that main thoroughfare here. Here we go. Just to give you an idea of what that street looks like. With all those buildings added in. I mean, very nicely done. So if I sound a little bit more excited than usual, it's because I'm finally in my backyard. And naturally, there were a couple of really high quality freeware versions of Santa Ana that was delivered over the years. And I actually used the old version in FS9. And whereas I enjoyed it and it was very well done, there was always a part of me that felt like, oh, if only someone would finally come in and do a payware high quality version of it. And I wanted that for years, and I think a number of you wanted it for years too. I remember seeing a lot of complaining, when are we finally going to get a proper Santa Ana, proper SNA? And a lot of people complain about San Diego too, so nice to see LatinVFR adding those in. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the car traffic now because that is really giving me some bad stutters. So give me a second. Your screen's going to go blank for one more moment while I get rid of that. Get rid of those cars. There we go. And that should help out the performance and kill off some of those stutters there. Taking a look at the Radisson Hotel now. Very nicely done. So all of these buildings are very important given the fact that they're so close to the airport. And I'm going to smack FS Dream Team on the palm here. I'm going to give them a nice little smack on the palm with my ruler. And the reason why is because if you remember back to the old Cloud 9 LAX, there are a lot of industrial buildings that sit opposite the 105 freeway, which is just on the other side of the cargo terminals at LAX. Those buildings all used to belong to Hughes Aircraft, and many of them now have been purchased by either Boeing or Raytheon. And one of those buildings is actually the DirecTV headquarters. When Hughes was in its final days, they started up their own company called Hughes Network Systems, where they decided they were going to get into commercial satellite broadcasting. And eventually, the name was changed to DirecTV, and that is the DirecTV headquarters there opposite the 105 freeway at LAX. And those buildings were all included in the old version of the Cloud 9 LAX. But when FSDT went back and did the new version of LAX, they scrapped those buildings altogether. They didn't even bother putting them in. And I was extremely disappointed. And I'm just going to be quite honest. I felt it was quite lazy. Why would you do it in the old version but not do it in the new version? And as many of you may or may not know, Cloud 9, the same guys that did the Cloud 9 are basically FSDT, which used to be Lago, if you remember that long ago. So, you know, it was still under the auspices of Virtuali or Umberto Calapiccioni, if I pronounce his name correctly. And so they added in those buildings in the old Cloud 9 version, but they didn't add them in the FSX version of LAX. So I was really disappointed to see that because those buildings are part of the airport. They really are. And unfortunately, they were not added. But looking at Santa Ana here and looking at all of the corporate buildings here, you can get an idea if LatinVFR decided we're only going to make the airport, we're not going to go in and add on all of these extra buildings. It's very obvious the difference it all would make. And you have the option to go in and remove these buildings if you don't want to have them. But I don't know why any of you would do it unless you have just a very low-end PC. And if removing these removing these buildings, if it yields an extra 5 frames per second, then perhaps maybe for you it's a worthwhile to go in and do that. But looking here, though, I mean, it just wouldn't be the same not to have these corporate office buildings. So very well done. And when you get down on the airport and you see the buildings in the background, you'll know exactly what it is I'm talking about. There's some helipads here too. You know what? Let's have some fun. Let's take a look at one of these helipads here. Let's see this helipad 15. Let's take a look at some of these helipads and see if they're landable. We're gonna put LatinVFR to the test here. And again, you can see all of the building logos are added. Very nice. Ooh, I have a delivery. Stand by, folks. I'll be right back. I'm going to hit the pause button here and get my delivery. Hang on. The final Christmas gifts still arriving. By the way, I just signed up for that Amazon Prime. I don't know if Amazon Prime is available in Europe yet or not, but that Amazon Prime is absolutely amazing. Amazing. So I signed up for the 30-day trial, but I'm actually going to keep it because of everything you get with that Amazon Prime. And no, this is not this is not sponsored by Amazon Prime, but they basically, I kid you not, I ordered something this morning at 12 o'clock this morning online, and it just arrived. So and that was free. So I mean, that's insane. So yeah, I had to give a quick shout out to that Amazon Prime because that's really awesome. And they have their own like Netflix streaming service as well now. So I'm gonna go back and I've been watching some episodes. So cool. We've got some landable helipads, very nicely done. So for you rotor heads out there, for you egg beaters, you've got something else to enjoy as part of the scenery. So again, this is just another part of the scenery that I'm really impressed with LatinVFR, that they actually took the time to go in and add these parts of the scenery in. Very nicely done. Let's try this one. Ooh, looks like I have a slight crosswind blowing me off there. There we go. Ouch. So take a look at that. Very nice. So if you are a fan of flying helicopters around, you have something else to enjoy as part of the Santa Ana scenery. Very nicely done. All right, so let's go ahead and head back into our virtual cockpit here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to head over to the northern side of the airport. Actually, this would be the western side of the airport. And take a look at some of the logistics areas that were added, as well as the general aviation areas. So you can see here a lot of custom buildings were added in, cars thrown in there as well. Very nicely done. And I know that there's a few comments and questions over there. I'm going to make sure to get to those very shortly. Just hovering over some of the logistics buildings. We have some hangars coming up here in the general aviation section of the airport. Pretty much similar to Van Nuys. Santa Ana, the only difference really, honestly, the only differences between Santa Ana and Van Nuys Airport is the fact that Santa Ana has commercial airline traffic flying in. That's pretty much the only difference. Did the traffic just reverse or what? Wasn't the traffic going the other way a minute ago? That's weird. Oh, look, we've had another place to land our helicopter. Let's try this one here. But yeah, that's the only differences. So Santa Ana, again, one of the things I noted earlier on in the broadcast is Orange County is very affluent, and a lot of those companies in the area, and a lot of just the people in general in the area, they own their own private aircraft, their own private jets or Cessnas, and they all fly in and out of Santa Ana. And as you can see there's a smaller runway for some of the smaller flights. As you can see, there's a lot of Cessnas there, which are static. So there are a lot of private aircraft owners in this part of Orange County. So Santa Ana is just as much a general aviation airport as it is a commercial airport. So that's one of the cool things about Santa Ana. For those of you who are really excited to get a lot of these new business jets that are coming out by Coronado and Lionheart Creations and Eaglesoft, Santa Ana is definitely one of the places you're going to enjoy your general aviation flights in some of your jets. And even if you're flying your smaller Cessnas, again, this is the perfect airport for those kinds of flights. So at the moment, just panning around the general aviation part of the airport. Lots of small Cessnas out here. And from this low level too, it also gives you an idea. There's Fashion Island out there in the background with default buildings. And here we have Atlanta's Aviation. And again, now that you're kind of on the airfield and you see those corporate office buildings in the background, it really gives you a good idea of just how important it is to have those buildings included. West Coast charters here. So a lot of general aviation, corporate aviation at Santa Ana. Also known as John Wayne. There's our Land Rover dealer there in the background. Let's see, are those actual Land Rovers in the parking lot? Let's see how accurate that is. The Newport Beach Service Center. And actually, Newport Beach is the home of Fletcher Jones Mercedes-Benz. They're very famous for their commercial with seagulls. And you have this woman in the background. She goes, Fletcher Jones Mercedes-Benz, Newport Beach. And then you got all these like seagulls and stuff in the background. Let's see here. I don't actually think I see her. Oh, there's a Land Rover there. I see a Mercedes. You kind of make out the kind of vehicles that are out here. There's an Avis car hire there, a rent-a-car center. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we are now taking a look at LatinVFR Santa Ana, John Wayne Airport here in Southern California. And so far, the work is immaculate. Pointed out a few things already, which I'll summarize toward the end of today's broadcast. But so far, I'm actually quite happy with everything that I'm seeing. There's one thing I'm going to go ahead and point out just really quickly, as a matter of fact. I might as well go ahead and get this out of the way. And this is one area that I actually wasn't too pleased with, and that is with the, I'm going to hit the pause button here, that's with the photo roll coverage of the actual airport itself. If you take a look at this really just sort of brown color here in between the runways here, that's a little too brown, and in fact I almost find it to be a little bit distracting. I'm going to head back over to Google Earth one more time just to give you an idea of what it actually should look like. And I'm not really sure where they purchased their photoreal imagery here. Let's see here. Let's go back to the desktop here so we can take a look at Google Earth. Just going to give you just an idea of what it should look like. I find that that brown coloration there in between those runways, it's a little bit it's a little bit overwhelming. Let's see. Let's rotate this around here and come in this way. I find it to be a little bit overwhelming, and if you actually take a look at the actual airport here, let's see here, you can see here there's a little bit more of like a greenish color, whereas we take a look in the simulator again. Where is it? Here you are. You get this like really kind of rusty brownish color, and I find that to be just a little bit overwhelming. It's like, it's kind of shocking my eyes a little bit, and if you just take a look at what it looks like here in real world, it is still more of a green. Obviously, a lot of the grass is dead, so you do get kind of browns and greens here. But this would have been, to kind of color it this way, would have been less overwhelming. Again, it's California, so there's not going to be any seasonal variation. So the way you see it here is pretty much going to be the way you see it all year round, with exception for the fact of when it rains, because when it rains, then obviously things get greener. But during the summers and things of that nature, this could get a little less green, I presume. At airports, we don't really use sprinklers. We try not to grow the grass at all, really. So you're not really going to see too much in terms of how you're not going. It's not going to look green and like a nice pretty field like you would see maybe on the East Coast or in Europe. But nevertheless, this is just this is more accurate, obviously. And if you take a look at the way it looks here in the simulator, which I'll switch back to now. Goodbye, Bear. Where'd it go? There it is. Full screen. If we just take a quick look at the way it, pause. The way it looks here in the simulator, it's a little bit overwhelming. This sort of brown rusty color is just like raw. It's taking away from everything else. And if you look at the rest of the photoreal around the airport, one of the things you'll notice is it's a lot of green, and that's because Orange County is very well manicured with trees and shrubs. And if you've ever been there, then you already know. If you've ever been to Disneyland, then you already know. Orange County is a very well manicured city. So as a result, what you wind up seeing is you know, a lot of greenery. But when you get across that 405 threshold there, again, you look here and you see how everything is really nice and green. But once you get across that 405 threshold, everything just kind of hits that brown, and it's like it's a little rough. It's a little rough on the eye. So what I would personally like to see in a future update is maybe if that can be updated and colorized to be a little bit more green and not so strong. I feel like that's pretty strong on the eyes, especially when you compare it to the greenage of the golf courses in the background, so on and so forth. All right, so I'm gonna land here really quickly. Let's see, we'll land next to that helicopter there. And I'm going to take a look at the comments. I know it's been a while since I like to try to keep things interactive here. So I'm just going to try to land our helicopter here and take a look at some of the comments. Any questions for me, anything about the scenery, and overview any comments you guys may have. Give me just one moment while I try to get this thing down here. Yeah, it's amazing, huh? I have to fly this thing and run my mouth at the same time. All live, minus your 10 or 15 second delay. Ouch. Let's scooch that thing back over the square, just like that guy is. There we go. All right, that's good enough. All right, let me just take a quick moment and breeze through the comments here. Let's see. So Mike Arc 99 actually says he works at SNA for UPS. So Mike, you want to give us your opinion in terms of how realistic things look so far? Misha's pointing out California has summer and hot summer. It's probably pretty much similar to Australia, I'm sure. Let's see here. Let's see, just browsing through, just one moment. And Iron Kids, welcome aboard. He says he's watching this on Chromecast and it's like a dream. Well, glad you could join us. He says DeAndre's in 6.1 surround sound. What's 6.1? I know 5.1, I know 7.1, I have 7.1. I'm not sure what 6.1 is though. There's an extra speaker in there somewhere. But it's very nice to know that you are currently hearing my voice live in 6.1 surround sound on your home theater entertainment system. Let's see. Iron Kids is saying, I'm a little disappointed with the surrounding scenery. So much to see and do in that area, and to have some of it unfinished after what we've seen, how far scenery design has come is a letdown. And just to kind of further what he is saying there, again, in the beginning of the broadcast, you can see the approach coming in over the Pacific Ocean. You have Balboa Island there, Newport Beach, so there's a lot there. You have Fashion Island and Newport Dunes, so there's a lot that could have been added in that area to help make that approach more immersive. And the other reason why I think that's important is because, again, as I just said, Santa Ana is just as much a general aviation airport as it is a commercial airline airport. And you know, there are a lot of there's you know, the corporate aviation here is very big. Obviously, as you can see, there's a lot of corporate buildings here, a lot of industrial complexes there, and of course you can see there's a lot of private aviation here. There's a lot of Cessnas there and smaller general aviation aircraft. So as a result, Santa Ana has the potential to be a very, very immersed airport when it comes to you know, having the approach done properly. And so the only letdown is if you do decide to fly into Santa Ana in your C-172 and you want to approach in over the Pacific, come in over Balboa Island there, over the marina, there's a lot there that's just missing, and those islands altogether are just, they're not even there, they're not even present. So just kind of adding on to what he was saying there in terms of being a little bit disappointed, it's just the fact that there's a lot there that should have been added, or rather could have been added, especially given the fact that the scenery was expanded in that direction. To have had that included really would have made a world of difference. But That said, I'm really trying to hint at Orbix, hoping that one of the guys, at least Misha I know is watching, but hopefully if any of the other guys at Orbix is watching or will watch in the future as a personal favorite of me, no, I'm kidding, but hopefully they'll go in and make that area much more realistic with the FTX Southern California, which is currently in development. All right, just going to breeze over and take a look at some more questions here or comments. And Misha is noting I don't do a very good Aussie accent. You know, I used to do a very good Aussie accent. I used to back in the day, but it's since gone from me. Sorry. Let's see here. And Slayer's asking, I'm sure it's been asked before. I'm actually I'm gonna leave that part out because I should have removed this traffic program, but I haven't removed it yet because I haven't found anything to replace it, and right now I just need something to show. So since I don't have anything to replace it yet, I'm still using a no-no. So my apologies, but I don't have anything to replace it with just yet. And Stratosim is asking, am I doing KDM Torp? That's actually already been done, so I will have that archived for you later on this evening. But Torp has already been complete. And what did I think of it? I thought it was a well-done product for a first-time developer. Very well done. And great for the price. And Palokio is asking, does this airport have jetway animation? Yes, it does, and we will preview that shortly. Let's see here. Let's see, 6.1 is left, center, and right, front and back with a sub. Yeah, that's 5.1. That's not 6.1. So you have 5 speakers, left, center, right, then 2 in the back, that's 5, and then the sub, which goes to the left or the right. That's 5.1, not 6.1. Where's the 6th one? Left, center, right, front, and back. Yeah, that's 5.1. The 0.1 is your subwoofer. The subwoofer is the 0.1, just so you know. Okay. And yeah, Corey is also noting here, it seems that the photo scenery is a little too brown. There should be a little bit of dirt there, which I agree. There should be some representation of grass. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to